We hope that as you take photos tonight and enjoy the celebration and share your thoughts on tonight's incredible speakers, we'd love for you to use, get ready, here comes the hashtag, hashtag STLCC-FV MLK 2022. So one more time for the social media. Hashtag STLCC-FV MLK 2022. By using social media to connect, we hope that we feel a little more like we're all together for those of us who are joining us virtually. Hi, students. As part of our celebration each year, we ask that attendees contribute to our Archers Market, a location where our students can have access to food and basic necessities. Because our celebration is virtual this evening, we wanted to remind everyone that the needs of our students absolutely still exist. If you are interested, and I know that you are, in donating to our Archers Market, please call 314-513-4534 to make that donation to our Archers Market. At STLCC, our students are at the heart of everything that we do, and our annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration is no exception. As such, our Florissant Valley campus has a tradition of having one of our students serve as the MC each year, in addition to having our student speakers. It gives me great pride to introduce to you our student MC for this evening, Tyler Hoskins. Tyler grew up in North County most of his life and went through elementary and junior high school in the Hazelwood School District. He is currently pursuing an associate's degree in graphic communications at Flow Valley. When he asked what he likes best about our campus, he noted that he likes how accessible it is and the staff being there to help every step of the way and the state-of-the-art technology. Tyler plans to transfer to a university to study graphic design after graduating from the best place on earth, STLCC. So please join me in welcoming Tyler Hoskins to the stage.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to our celebration. Each year, we commemorate Dr. King's birthday in partnership with North County churches uniting for racial harmony and justice. Celebrations such as ours must not only honor Dr. King, but must continue the work of service, justice, and humanity that he began. As mentioned, this year's theme is We're Better Together, a theme that the committee thought would be impactful given our current climate. One of Dr. King's most lasting legacies was the way in which he worked to bring people together, to have people from different walks of life working together to meet a common goal, and to allow us to embrace our differences while remaining united. Tonight, you will hear different speakers share what this message means to them and how Dr. King's tireless efforts to inspire all of us to work together continue to have an impact on us today. It is our hope today to encourage and inspire you as he's inspired all of us. We will begin this evening by enjoying Lift Every Voice and Sing. Please welcome Elenia Epps, vocalist from the University of Missouri St. Louis, who will lead our singing. She is accompanied by Dr. Paul Higdon, professor of music. As we are experiencing challenging times, we ask our program participants to please remain masked and instead of singing, simply stand and meditate on the words of the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. For those of you joining from home, we hope you will sing along.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come over a path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, here now we stand at last, where the white gleam of the bright star is cast. God of our weary tears, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk from the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
Thank you, Elena and Dr. Higdon, for sharing your beautiful talents with us. In addition to having a Flow Valley student serve as the MC of this event, we also showcase and highlight our exceptional students through speeches on our theme. Our first student speaker for this evening is Beyonce Hightower. Beyonce is from the Boot Hill region of Missouri. She notes that what she loves most about Flow Valley is each staff member and administrator's passion for their role in continuing education for young adults. She is currently a general transfer studies major and plans to transfer to a university to pursue a career in naturopathic medicine. Will you please welcome our first archer, Beyonce Hightower.
Thank you, Tyler. Why are we here? And where do we go? And how come it's so hard? It's not always easy, and sometimes life can be deceiving. I'll tell you one thing, it's always better when we're together. A lyric by Jack Johnson from his song Better Together summed it up perfectly. It not only resonated with him back in 2006, but it was also a mutual feeling for Martin Luther King Jr. and all of his followers during the Civil Rights Movement. Although slavery was abolished in 1865 with the ratification of the 13th Amendment, it marked the beginning of a new era of oppression. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was one of many social activists who stepped up and spoke out for the African American community. He was not only a man who sought out equality and basic human rights for Black Americans, but he held a greater perspective. He envisioned a world where all men of every color, would be created equally and have the same privileges. He spent his adult life advocating and working to wake America up through the Baptist Church and through the eyes of society. He was a man of action, specifically and most notably, a man of nonviolent action. Living a nonviolent life is hard. Those who grew up with siblings know where I'm coming from. But seriously, if you lived a life where you felt and were physically shown that your life meant less than your neighbor's, how many of you could still wake up and choose nonviolence? Martin Luther King was the man who not only made that decision for himself, but also encouraged his followers to do the same. In his book, Stride Toward Freedom, The Montgomery Story, he details his philosophy and the 6 principles of nonviolence. His 6 principles of nonviolence are as follows. Nonviolence is a way of life. It seeks to defeat injustice and not people, as evildoers are also victims. Nonviolence believes the universe is on the side of justice, and therefore, with faith, justice will always prevail. Nonviolence seeks to win friendships and understanding. Above all, he believed nonviolence will promote love instead of hate. Nonviolence was not an action done in hopes of avoiding too harsh a punishment from law enforcement or others. Nonviolence was a protest in itself. It was an act of rejection, of the cruelty from the opposing class. Of course, no battle is ever perfect. However, Martin Luther King Jr. successfully accomplished a lot. He led the Montgomery bus boycott and the Birmingham campaign. He also played an important role in organizing the Great March on Washington. He would go on to found and become the first president of STLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Even his speeches and letters impacted the movement. Each milestone would eventually lead to the passing of new legislation, such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the Voting Rights Acts of 1965. These pieces of legislation have gone on to affect the United States tremendously. The impact he made was substantial. We still celebrate it today, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. To me, Martin Luther King Jr. was a strong, radical thinker. He was more than a man of straw who kindly asked of his oppressors for equal rights. He is more than a comfortable or sanitized version many Americans believed him to be today. He was the most hated person of his time. He went places he was openly not welcomed and treated in ways that are often considered unimaginable to us today. King campaigned strongly for other revolutionary social movements that fought to uplift Black Americans as well. He also strongly opposed America's form of capitalism that gives luxuries to the classes and takes necessities from the masses. He wanted to get away from things such as funding wars and move towards ensuring that every person received the opportunity for a good education, healthcare, and a viable income. Simply put, the things that affect and influence me most about Martin Luther King are the things our textbooks and curriculums often fail to mention. His beliefs that go beyond his 6 principles of nonviolence is what motivates me the most. Dr. King once said, "Life for none of us has been a crystal stair, but we must keep moving. We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving." This piece of advice is what still influences movements important to me, such as LGBTQ issues, immigration issues, and the systematic killings of unarmed Black men and women of color. The work and beliefs of Martin Luther King Jr. is what motivates me to believe change is possible. It's what motivates me to speak up for myself and for others when I believe wrongdoings are happening. Change has happened once, and change can happen again. The progress he made in the 1950s and the 1960s is undeniable. It has positively affected me, my African American peers, and every other American citizen. However, the change that is still to come is best achieved if we remember that we are better together.
Thank you, Beyonce, for sharing your words and your inspiring story with us. Our next student speaker is Javon Spearman. Javon is from the North County region, and he grew up attending schools in the Hazelwood School District at St. Louis Community College, Florissant Valley. Javon majors in General STEM Transfer Studies and plans to transfer to a four-year institution to major in computer science. With his eyes set on the future, Javon intends to help the city of St. Louis and the people of his hometown of North County through various opportunities in technology, like teaching kids how to code. Javon, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Tyler, and good evening. On August 28, 1963, 250,000 people gathered at the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. in an event that would change the course of history forever. This event was known as the March on Washington, an event spearheaded by the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and A. Philip Randolph. Many speakers were also in attendance at the march, such as John Lewis, Roy Wilkins, and civil rights leader Daisy Lee Bates. But Dr. King certainly stole the show. Not only did Dr. King debut his I Have a Dream speech here, but he also went 12 minutes over his allotted 4-minute presenting time. During this time, Dr. King spoke most to the people, undeniably the most important aspect of the event. The audience consisted of a diverse audience of Blacks, whites, Asians, Latinos, and many more. Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech at the March on Washington was the spark for not only a shift for the civil rights movement, but was a declaration that spoke to the unifying force of the event itself. If not for the hundreds of thousands of people gathering, there would be no March on Washington, and as a result, the way we would view each other would be vastly different today. King taught us to embrace one another for our true selves and to stand against injustice for all. To me, Dr. King meant a lot more than what we learned about him in school. As a young African-American man, Dr. King showed me that it was possible to make changes and impact people even when the odds are stacked against you. Throughout my life, I have been challenged about my identity, my values, my character, and my character as a person of color. The political climate of today and yesterday have created a narrative about people of color that is not only vile, but is disgusting in its depictions of minorities in the United States. Police brutality, racism, and extreme amounts of prejudice has juxtaposed us against each other in a manner that has bred more hatred than love, but this can change. Dr. King has taught me that to combat hatred, we must use love. We must combat our oppressors not in the act of violence, but in the act of peace. Only then may we pierce and touch the heart. Now, I may not be a doctor, but to me, the heart is quite possibly the thickest skin in the human body. Changing the heart is no easy task, but every step taken is one step closer to a better life for the next generation, the ones that come after us. To the future generations, we are the next Dr. Kings and Malcolm X's. We are the ones that impact them the most, and it is up to us to teach them to love each other, not to love each other for the character, rather than the color of their skin. The past 2 years has given us a lot to think about. Black lives that were lost at the hands of police brutality and racism-driven violence, such as George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, just to name a few, and not to mention the global COVID-19 pandemic that has left that has left millions of people dead and many more displaced in the world. These events may make us feel more divided than ever, but if we look at Dr. King's work over half a century ago, we can see that there is hope in our future. Dr. King was not only a leader to his community, but was a leader to those outside looking in. Dr. King showed bravery in the face of pure evil and racism, but like all great leaders, Dr. King was assisted by others in his fight. Coretta Scott King, Dr. King's wife, served as Martin's partner and confidant when it came to fighting for the civil rights movement, and displayed immense bravery and courage along with her husband. King's closest advisor, Bayard Rustin, helped Dr. King organize the Montgomery bus boycott that served as a catalyst for the March on Washington in 1963. Rosa Parks, who is considered by most as the mother of the civil rights movement, created the platform for Dr. King to carry away before she ever stood a foot on that bus in Montgomery. Through the help of others, Dr. King taught us to not only stand in the face of danger fearlessly, but also to stand together. Only through unity are we able to face the challenges that so persecute our communities today. Only through understanding of each other and collective integrity are we able to make great strides, just like those made back in 1963. Only through the casting out of injustice may we work towards freedom for all. We are the movement. We are the Black Lives Matter. We are those 250,000 that gathered on August 28, 1963, that when faced with adversity and racism did not stand down. We are strength, we are power, and we are better together. If you walk away remembering anything from this speech, I want you to remember this quote from the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Javon. It is a pleasure for me to get to see my classmates' talents be recognized by you all this evening. Now, please allow me to introduce our Florissant Valley Campus President and Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Elizabeth Gassel Perkins.
Good evening, and thank you, Tyler, for the introduction. Tonight marks my 6th Dr. King celebration with the college, and each year I continue to be impressed by the remarkable talents of our students and those in our community who share their stories with us tonight. I also continue to be humbled by the wonderful work done in our community by our leaders, nonprofits, businesses, and impactful individuals, and that is part of what we celebrate here this evening. As Dr. King famously said, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. Yet we know that some people have a spirit that calls them to service far more than others, and they do so not for recognition or awards, but because they wish to make their communities better. At Florissant Valley, we are grateful and fortunate to have so many wonderful community partners who are called to service and work with us to enhance our student and community experiences. And tonight, it is our pleasure to honor one of them with our Dr. Rance Thomas Excellence in Community Partnership Award. The award itself is meant to symbolize the ways in which our college and tonight's recipients work together by connecting and intertwining into 2 distinct pieces to create one beautiful sculpture, and we'll share that with you in just a little bit. Our first recipient, Dr. Thomas, was chosen as the namesake for this award because of his never-ending partnership with and advocacy for the college and the community. His work extends to supporting events at chambers, hospitals, churches, schools, and community groups. This person is easily one of the most active members in North County and works tirelessly to make the community a better place for us all. In the spirit of Dr. King, Dr. Thomas specifically works toward facilitating unity, racial justice, and harmony across St. Louis and beyond. In other words, to receive this award means that a person or organization has exceptionally large shoes to fill. This is our 5th year of presenting this award, with other previous recipients, Rittner School District, Normandy Schools Collaborative, and Christian Hospital being just as deserving as Dr. Thomas. Fortunately for us, it was very easy to select our 2022 recipient as well, Emerson Electric Company. The event committee who selects the recipient each year was incredibly impressed with Emerson's consistent commitment to not only our students, but to the entire North St. Louis County community. Here to tell us a little bit more about Emerson's incredible commitment to St. Louis Community College, the Florissant Valley campus specifically, and the North County community is our Chancellor, Dr. Jeff Pittman.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And it's my extreme pleasure to be here with you this evening. And like Elizabeth, I'm just so grateful to get invited to this event and get to be with you folks this evening. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate the speakers that we've heard so far, the song that we witnessed, the young men and women that are coming up here, future leaders of our community. So we're just so thankful for them. So thankful that Michael McMillan's here from the Urban League will be our keynote speaker. Look forward to hearing from him in a few minutes. And just so thankful for the voters of North County here in St. Louis County. Recently passed a tax levy here. You're going to see about $100 million in construction coming to this campus. I can't think of a better place or a more worthy place of this investment. And just look forward to all the positive change that will be here soon. I'm also so thankful for all the investors of St. Louis Community College. Not least of all those is Emerson. And it's just my extreme pleasure to provide further rationale for why Emerson was chosen to receive the Dr. Rance Thomason's Excellence in Community Partnership Award here this evening, the highest honor provided by the Florissant Valley campus to an external partner. Emerson's support of St. Louis Community College extends for several decades. From 1988 through 2016, Emerson supported the Emerson Minority Scholarship Program, which made it possible for hundreds of participating students to earn an associate's degree in engineering science from the college and a bachelor's degree in one of the fields of engineering from Missouri S&T. The Emerson Scholarship covered the cost of tuition, fees, books, and supplies for up to 6 consecutive semesters at St. Louis Community College. Then, in 2008, Emerson provided the lead gift of $500,000 for the capital campaign to establish the Emerson Center for Engineering and Manufacturing. This building is on the opposite side of the campus and houses programs like our Precision Manufacturing Technology program, a one-semester program that allows individuals to go directly into the workforce in a high-wage job after just 16 weeks of coursework. In 2016, in a program that is still ongoing, Emerson provided a $1 million gift for the Florissant Valley campus to create the Emerson STEM Academy. This program provides textbooks and materials for all program participants and offers tuition reimbursement for high school faculty interested in becoming certified to teach dual credit courses in STEM or English to ensure that students who graduate from high school are STEM ready upon high school graduation, meaning that they will not require developmental coursework, one of the biggest inhibitors of STEM major attainment. Further, the grant provides opportunities for transportation from the high school to the college to ensure that students are able to participate in dual enrollment coursework. And this year, the grant is supporting a dedicated coordinator and tutor for the students. This coordinator has been able to provide enhanced intrusive advising, enrichment activities, team building events, and of course, academic support to ensure students are successful and engaged. The grant also covered the renovation of the early college space for these students, including a lounge and kitchenette, office conference room, and study area computer lab. To date, 71 students have graduated from the program, earning over a total of 1,400 college credit hours, and over 50 students are currently still enrolled in the program. The transformative nature of the Emerson STEM Academy cannot be undersold for these students, their families, and our community. For all of these and many more reasons, Emerson was chosen to receive the 2022 Dr. Thomas Excellence in Community Partnership Award. Now, due to the state of the world, our friends from Emerson were unable to join us to accept the award in person. However, they send their thanks, and we will ensure that they receive this special recognition. Could you please join me in giving Emerson a hand?
Thank you, Dr. Perkins and Dr. Pittman. And congratulations again to Emerson. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Rance Thomas, previously lauded, of course, and Dr. Barbara Thompson, Vice President of NCCU. Dr. Thomas and Dr. Thompson were introduced the winners of the North County Churches Uniting for Racial Harmony and Justice 2021 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Oratory Contest.
Good evening. I would like to welcome you on behalf of North County Church and Racial Harmony and Justice to our annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. I once again like to thank Dr. Perkins and the college for the great honor of naming this award in my honor. I would like to congratulate Emerson Electorate for being the recipient of this award this year, for its outstanding partnership with the college and many others. It's truly deserving of this award. It's a pleasure to participate in the Dr. King celebration with the college once again. We really appreciate the college partnering with us for the last 23 years. We've had a wonderful relationship with the college and its leaders during those years. We're very grateful to Dr. Perkins and Dr. Pittman for continuous relationship. At this time, I'd like to share with you a little about our organization, North County Church and Racial Harmony and Justice, better known as NCCU. NCCU began in 1998 at my church, John Knox Presbyterian Church, because we wanted to do something about the fleeing of some of our longtime members to St. Charles and beyond due to the influx of African Americans to the county from the city. There was concern of many other Caucasian churches as well. By the way, my church was a Caucasian church at that time. I had 400 members of only 12 African Americans. Therefore, we formed this organization to work together, to bring the races together around some positive activities to promote racial understanding and social justice. During our 24 years, we brought thousands of individuals together through workshops, conferences, health screening and health fairs, youth programs, adult programs, and other events. We currently have 27 churches of various denominations, and we'll continue to work to bring the races together through various activities. We'll work and still work with the college and other organizations as well, including AMSL, school district, city officials, St. Louis County personnel, including 5 police departments, in fact, St. Louis County Police Department, Florissant, Hazelwood, Clayton, and even Alton, Illinois Police Department. Well, this is enough about this organization. We have many other activities as well, one of which I would like to share with you, and that is Dr. King Oratory Essay Contest, which we hold each year. We select 5 winners, adults and youth. For many years, we've had the pleasure of having them present their essays at this celebration. I'm going to now ask our Vice President, Dr. Barbara Thompson, to introduce them in a few minutes. Dr. Thompson has been the coordinator of this program for many years, and she has done a fantastic job. Barb?
Thank you, Dr. Thomas, and thank you to the St. Louis Community College at Florissant Valley for hosting us once again and making us partners in this wonderful Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. You are in for a real treat by hearing the speeches of all of our winners. And I would first like to introduce our elementary school winner. That is Amani Cobb. She is a fifth grader at Combs Intermediate School in the Ferguson-Florissant School District, and she attends Trinity Mount Carmel Baptist Church. So Amani, would you please come forward? Your mask off.
We're better together. Years ago, long before I was born, a great African American civil rights leader, humanitarian, activist, and preacher named Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. Unfortunately, Dr. King learned about prejudice and segregation at a very young age. His best friend and neighbor was a little white boy. They loved to play together, but once it was time to go to kindergarten, young Dr. King was told that he could no longer play with his friend because of the color of their skin. They could not even go to school together, even though they were neighbors. When Dr. King grew up, he led many marches against segregation and prejudice, like the Montgomery bus boycott, voting rights, and other nonviolent protests. In one of his most famous speeches, "I Have a Dream," he wanted his 4 little children to live in a world where they would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Sadly, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed in Memphis, Tennessee on April 4th, 1968. When I think about how we're better together, I want to live in a world where I can learn from different kinds of people. Even though I am just a kid, I would like to start a service called Nonviolent Equality Service. My service would be run by kids, for kids. The kids would be from different races and genders. They would teach each other about their different cultures and backgrounds and how to treat others the way they want to be treated. Maybe, just maybe, the adults can learn from the kids that we're better together. Thank you.
Amani? Didn't I tell you you were in for a treat? At this time, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce our 2 high school winners, and they will come and present one right after another. Our first presenter will be Sean Jackson, who is a senior at McClure North High School in the Ferguson-Florissant School District. He will be followed by Jiu Zhang, who is a 10th grader at Hazelwood West High School in the Hazelwood School District. Please help me welcome Sean, and after Sean, Jiu.
What if we lived in a world where everybody, no matter their race, worked together with no inequality? Imagine how much better the world would be. I lived in St. Louis my entire life. I'm no stranger to police brutality, stereotyping, and scapegoating. I believe that if these things are changed, we can come together and overcome inequality, and America can be a society where everyone works together. I believe that all people should be treated equal. The biggest threat to all people being equal is police brutality. If you're not familiar with police brutality, it's the excessive and unwarranted use of force by law enforcement. Police brutality in the United States stems from racism. About 1,000 civilians each year are killed by law enforcement officers in the United States. It is estimated that black men are 2.5 times more likely than white men are to be killed by police officers during their lifetime. Black men are more likely to be killed by police because we are seen as a threat to the police. Being born black is not a crime. America would be so much better without police causing inequality. As an American citizen who is also black and a male, I feel discrimination is another factor causing inequality. Discrimination is very common because people stereotype other people of certain ethnicities. Stereotyping is the generalized belief about a particular category of people. An article from Springerling states that stereotyping of African Americans, An article from Springerling states that stereotyping of African Americans, particularly males, has had a negative impact on African American families and communities. For instance, that the belief African Americans are unintelligent, lazy, violent, and criminals has affected educational outcomes, employment opportunities, socioeconomic status, and dismantling of African American families and communities. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "We have may all came on different ships, but we're all in the same ship now." If it does not help to discriminate against our brothers, especially when stereotyping has a negative impact and leads to inequality. A topic that I'm too familiar with is scapegoating, which is a big cause of inequality. If you're not too familiar with the term scapegoating, it's when a person is blamed for wrongdoings, mistakes, or faults of others, especially for reasons of inconvenience. This topic is important to me because scapegoating is commonly used against black people. An example would be corporate America. Corporate America are African Americans are fall guys when things go wrong in a company. Take me, for example. My job put me in charge of an entire water park. I had to sign a contract. The pool was in a very poor condition when I got the facility. My employer was fully aware of the pool's condition. They chose not to improve the pool due to its location in a poor majority black community. The employer made the upkeep my responsibility and blamed mishaps on me, all the while saying I was not doing my job if anything went wrong. In conclusion, this world is full of inequality. If we as a society let go of police brutality, stereotyping, and scapegoating, we would all be in a more peaceful, advanced world. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." Sometimes we're not going to know what's going to happen, but if we work as a team, we'll be better together. Thank you.
On August 28, 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood atop the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., delivering his famous speech, "I Have a Dream." It was a speech that shined lights in the lives of the oppressed, providing them with a faith to live. It was a speech that prodded sense into the brains of those withholding power, making them rethink their inhumane decisions toward humanity. Moreover, it was a speech with the purpose of bringing the shattered world back together by joining the hands of people coming from different backgrounds. "We cannot walk alone," Dr. King said 58 years ago, 5 months after he led a nonviolent march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. Together with 25,000 others, he succeeded in securing the Voting Rights Act an act that marked the beginning of providing African Americans with the right to vote. With the support from so many people, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was able to make a change. We can, too, if we are willing to work together. Today, I want to assure everyone that no one has to walk alone. When natural disasters took the homes of thousands, my school and I fundraised money for those who had lost everything. Together, we raised over $2,000 for the Australian wildfire that burned down almost 6,000 buildings. When pollution became a menace to the community, my family and I have been picking up trash to protect endangered animals and bring back fresh air. When people are wrongfully abused and murdered on the streets, my friends and I will use words on paper to ensure that justice is lawfully recompensed and that respect is properly given. When conflicts threaten to tear society down, I will be there, and so will many others, because when we are united, we are fearless. Now, could I have completed every activity that I had mentioned by myself? Yes, I could, but with limits, because there's only so much that a single girl like me could do in a world where 8 billion people live. It is when that single multiplies that the possibility of the world turns from being limited to limitless. It is when we persevere through hardship to overcome adversity that Dr. King's dream can truly come alive. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream has been passed on 58 years later to us. What we will do is that we will work through unity to maintain the peaceful lives of the people and continue to fight for the deprived years down the road. In the next 58 years from today, we must not forget how to join hands when working together to fight for a cause, because we're better together. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean and J.U., for those inspiring words. We now are to the adult categories of the winners of the NCCU Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Oratory Contest, and it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce those two adults. First will be Riva Gomez, parent from Hazelwood Central High School in the Hazelwood School District and a medical coder at St. Louis University Hospital. Last will be Linda Phillips, teacher assistant, Keyvan Elementary School in the Hazelwood School District. Please help me welcome Riva and Linda.
Quite simply put, we are better together. A single person has the ability to influence others, just like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did in his lifetime. He was a trailblazer in his pursuit of freedom, and he believed that love would prevail and drive out hate. As he spoke to the hundreds of thousands of people during his I Have a Dream speech, it became apparent that to be even more effective, we must work together to achieve dreams and goals. Dr. King said, "We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools." He inspired many to come together to labor in love. The philosophy of being better together applies to so many scenarios, particularly in families. When every member of the family does their part, the family unit becomes united and the burden is shared by all. Every December, Wreaths Across America provides a wintergreen wreath to adorn the tombstone of every veteran. In 2018, a record 30,000 wreaths were laid at Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery. If one individual had the responsibility of laying each wreath, the work may never be completed. But when volunteers give of their time and assist the organization, the effort becomes less cumbersome and the work is accomplished. Regardless of color, religion, gender, or other social factors, we are indeed better together when working side by side for the common good. It is still important to recognize the efforts of a single person because they are giving 100% to their cause. Oftentimes, it takes just one person to lead the way. Certainly, one person could try to do it all, but in reality, it takes a team. It takes people being united and working for the good of the whole to bring about change or success. A great analogy is that of swimming. Any athlete on a swim team knows that they must be able to swim all 4 strokes: butterfly, breast, back, and freestyle. They will soon find that they have the skill set for one stroke over another, and then begin to focus on perfecting that stroke. They may swim in their individual event and take first place, but you can't win a swim meet on solo events alone. The most points come from swimming in relays. A medley relay requires 4 swimmers who have perfected their stroke to swim one right after each other against other teams. The faster you are, the sooner your teammate can dive into the water and do their part. When the final person on the team dives into the water, they must put it all out there to ensure a victory. The points are tallied, and the first place team will get the maximum number of those points. Achieving success becomes a team effort, and the athletes become better together. I suppose you could compare that to football, soccer, basketball, baseball, and so many other sports. You have key players, but without the team, victory is much harder to achieve. The more I ponder the concept of being better together, the more I tend to realize those that work behind the scenes to make things happen. Take a concert, for instance. The group always has a lead singer, but without the band members, the backup vocals, the management team, the stage designers, the ticket sales, and the venue, the concert would not happen. All of the individuals that work together tirelessly for the show to go on are creating a positive experience for music fans. Every person is a work in progress. We must work on ourselves as individuals, as well as collectively, to face the challenges that come our way. We should point our moral compass in a direction that is best for our own well-being, our community, and our country. It is crucial to learn to navigate through the chaos of life with determination and commitment, because that leads to success. At times, we might fall, but when we pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and try again, we will learn valuable lessons. There is no better time to chase a dream. A dream for yourself has the potential to change the world, and when you have people that are willing to support your dream, great things are achievable. When you see that dreams do come true due to hard work, conviction, and support, it is easier to comprehend that we really are better together. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Thomas. Thank you very much.
Go get the candle. We have a little drama here, just a minute. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This year's theme is We're Better Together. Such a tidy and lovely cliche. That great I Have a Dream speech, we call it, that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. animated on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, August 28, 1963. He realized the validity and the wisdom of unity within a nation. Sports teams, bands, businesses, vocal groups, all perform better together when unified. A biblical saying from Matthew chapter 12, verse 25 validates the truth of this. It says, "Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Babylon has fallen, the great Roman Empire, Greece, Egypt, and more. Dr. King internalized an American brotherhood dream that a day will dawn when little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today, he said. After desegregation in the 60s, I, along with about 150 so other black teens, got to attend a formerly all-white high school. My education was enriched as I learned to blend in both worlds. Affirmative action was instrumental in getting me into an Ohio university, while blacks I knew began serving lengthy military careers. Dr. King would have been happy for us and undoubtedly burst with pride to see the election of the first black president. Are you kidding? America had arrived as a beacon of democratic light ablaze for the world and heavens to behold. Then it shattered. The delightful sitcoms of All in the Family, the Jeffersons, and Different Strokes are too long gone from memory, or perhaps never discovered by generations X, Y, Z, and the millennials. Any underlying racial tensions now just burst forth like fresh strawberries juicing up your mouth. As a political party allowed a leader to take great joy when the Capitol was under siege. How would Dr. King have fared on a march to the White House in that new day? Political madness and delusion has allowed the country he loved to not be able to agree on taking the vaccine to save your. We sleep to the melody of bullets. Better together is a hope, a lovely dream, a utopia, a Garden of Eden. I am so sorry if I popped your bubbles, but somebody must tell you the sad but beautiful truth. Facing truth is half the battle, as the other divide is just to implement a plan. Fathers, we have a problem. Mothers, we have a problem. Young men and young ladies, we have a problem. Now, what shall we do? The forefathers are watching. Black ancestors are weeping along with every civil rights marcher, both living and dead. Especially, I fear, Dr. King. I feel his tears dripping from heaven. So once again, I shall ask you, what shall we do? Does it not begin with me? Now, what about you? Black Lives Matter? Thank you very much. Prop, help. Grandsons, help.
Once again, I'd like to congratulate our winners. They did a great job, as you heard from them, and I'm sure they'll do well in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all of our NCCU contest winners. Your words, your leadership, and your example challenge all of us to continue to be better together. I am now honored to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Michael P. McMillan. Michael P. McMillan is president and CEO of the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis Incorporated, a nonprofit organization providing social services to the metropolitan St. Louis community since 1918. The St. Louis Urban League was the first affiliate of the National Urban League movement to be awarded a 5-star rating, which it holds to this day. The Urban League's mission is to assist African Americans and others throughout the region in securing economic self-reliance, social equality, and civil rights. Each year, the Urban League serves more than 125,000 residents through programming and supporting economic opportunity, educational excellence, community empowerment, civil rights, and advocacy. Mr. McMillan has received hundreds of awards and commendations from various organizations. He was recently inducted into the International Civil Rights Walk of Fame as its youngest member and named the 2020 Person of the Year by the St. Louis American. He was also named one of the Ebony Power 100 Most Influential African Americans in the United States. Additionally, he is the recipient of the 2013 International Trumpet Award for Community Service, the Whitney M. Young and John Mack Leadership Awards from the National Urban League, the Chairman's Award presented by the St. Louis Minority Supplier Development Council, and a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Montford Point Marine Association, Incorporated. Mr. McMillan is a member of the boards of directors of the following companies and organizations: the St. Louis Zoo Association, Enterprise Bank and Trust, Harris Stowe State University, the U.S. Bank Advisory Board, the St. Louis Sports Commission, Heat Up St. Louis Incorporated, Cool Down St. Louis, the St. Louis Community Foundation, the St. Louis Municipal Opera Theater, and the Greater St. Louis Area Council Boy Scouts of America. He is a graduate of St. Louis University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in African American Studies and a minor in Political Science with an emphasis in finance. Additionally, Mr. McMillan is an Eisenhower Fellow, an American Council of Young Political Leaders, alumnus, member of the Eta Boule chapter of Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, 100 Black Men of Metropolitan St. Louis, and St. Alphonsus Liguori Rock Catholic Church. We are so proud to have him with us tonight. Please join me in welcoming Mr. McMillan to deliver our keynote address.
Good evening. I want to thank our MC for your introduction and your work tonight. And I especially want to congratulate all of the speakers and the honorees that have already been acknowledged. And even though those of you who are tuning in tonight cannot see them, I would love for them to please stand once again so that we can acknowledge you and give you a huge, thunderous round of applause, because you were so inspiring to me, especially our young people. Ms. Cobb in grade school talking about the life of Dr. King and what it means to her gives me hope for the future of our region. Please join me in a big round of applause for all of them. Very impressive honorees. It is always an honor to be here at St. Louis Community College at Florissant Valley. This is a very, very special location to me personally as a resident of North County and someone who is a native St. Louisan, but it is especially someplace that I am very, very, very proud to partner with in terms of the Urban League movement. When the crisis in Ferguson happened and Michael Brown was killed, and the eyes of the nation were watching Ferguson and St. Louis, I was able to partner with the community college system, with the chancellor, and with the leadership here, and we held the biggest job and resource fair in the history of the Urban League movement right here on this campus to make sure that we were able to serve over 5,000 people for the first time in one day to try to give them economic opportunity, hope, justice, and the ability to take care of themselves and their families, which is the mission of the Urban League. In addition to that, during the crisis that we have all been experiencing over the past 2 years with COVID, I was able to work with the chancellor and the president here to have large-scale food, toiletry, mask, gloves, sanitizer, and other resource drives right here at Flo Valley, serving thousands of people on Saturdays. And when Save Our Sons was created in the aftermath of what happened in Ferguson, we were able to have Save Our Sons job fairs here on this campus in order to give young African-American men and people of any race that needed employment the ability to come here and to find that employment and that hope. So I would like to ask each and every one of you to also join with me in a round of applause for our chancellor, our president, and all of the staff here that work so hard at Flo Valley all the time. When you talk about the concept and the actual title of tonight's presentation for all of us, that we are better together, that is something that is so incredibly accurate. When you think of the greatest moments that this city, this state, this nation, and the world have ever experienced, it has been because we have been better together. It is not because we were better apart. It is an example in terms of this phrase and this concept of what we must all strive to be and what we must all strive to do. And earlier, you heard him. He's a very, very humble man. But when you think about someone who exemplifies the principles of Dr. King, and not just thinking about or talking about, but doing and acting those principles each and every day, and taking the time, the talent, and the treasure that the Lord has blessed him with in order to give that back and have it be a multiplier effect in this community, in this region, that's Dr. Rance Thomas. Doctor, we want to give you a round of applause and thanks as well. You are a remarkable leader in this region and a member of the Urban League movement in terms of what you have done continuously. He is also on the board of directors of the Madison County Urban League, and I thank him for being a friend and someone that we work with. And when you think about Emerson receiving this award tonight, I can't think of a corporation that is more befitting in terms of what you heard that they have done just with the community college system, but they have also had a partnership with the Urban League, specifically targeting African American youth, business development, Save Our Sons, and our Ferguson Center. And they work with so many different organizations each and every day to spread their mission of trying to empower people and give them their best lives. So when you talk about what we need to be doing, where are we as a country, where are we as a region, where are we in this nation right now in terms of where we need to be going forward, and you look at the sad realities of what have happened in the past few days, when we talk about voting rights being done in our capital, and you talk about the frustration, and you think about the inability for us to exercise our most basic human right in this democracy, which is to choose our leaders, you can become very frustrated, and you can become depressed over the inability of people to reach across the aisle and work together and all of the partisan politics that can divide us. But, as I said, I am so encouraged by our young people who spoke tonight and articulated their personal and vision for the future of what this city and what this nation can be. And when you think about we're better together as a concept, literally, that is what the Urban League was created to be. For those of you who are not familiar with us, in St. Louis, we were created 104 years ago based on the tragedy of what happened with the East St. Louis race riots. And as a result of that tragedy, we were born and created here to improve the lives and the conditions of African Americans and people in need by blacks and whites that wanted to come together, improve race relations, and make us a better nation. We are blessed and honored, as was mentioned earlier, to be the only five-star affiliate that has maintained its status for as long as we have. We do not take that lightly. We offer 55 different programs in 20 different locations with 125,000 clients throughout this entire region. And we work each and every day to be worthy of that five-star rating so that we can continue to serve the people in this community and show African-American excellence and blacks and whites and people of every single race and ethnicity and orientation coming together under one umbrella to make a difference in St. Louis. So when you look at where we are now and where should we be going forward, we talked a lot about what individuals can do. Never underestimate your individual power to make a difference and to give back, help humanity, and use that power for good. But as was said, we can only do so much individually. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, then go together. And that is why I always encourage people to join organizations like the Urban League or your Black Student Union or your Student Government Association or the NAACP or 100 Black Men or one of the Divine Nine while you are in college or even in grad chapter, or any type of organization, whether it be a neighborhood association or whether it be something that you then value based on the causes and the things that you find personally inspiring to you that you want to make a difference in. And so when you think about trying to make that individual difference and trying to give back and do what you can, there are so many things that you can do. And at the end of my presentation, I'm just going to give a few challenges to each and every one of you, including me, to remind us of what we can do. But when you talk about being better together and working together and making this community the best that it can be, as we sit literally in the city of Ferguson, one of the best examples of that was when we all watched in horror the day after Michael Brown died, that Sunday night when the Quick Trip went up in flames. And as a native St. Louisan, watching that on the news made me look like and think to myself that this was a documentary of the 60s, like Eyes on the Prize, where you saw what happened in the civil rights movement. But yet, here in St. Louis, in 2014, this was still happening based on the frustration, the rage, the anger, the disgust that had happened to people for decades in terms of police brutality and also mistreatment and targeting of poor and African-American people with so many tickets, fines, and other things that took place that were exposed by the Justice Department when the decree was made after they came here and looked at these various injustices. And so you saw that frustration boil up into this Quick Trip being burned in front of the eyes of the nation and the world. But that is where the Urban League can be at its best. Because as the official bridge and the organization that was designed to improve race relations and serve African Americans and be that bridge between corporations, businesses, philanthropic entities, and governments to the Black community all over America, because there are almost 100 urban leagues in this country. We then immediately reached out, and I called one of the members of the board of directors of Quick Trip, and we worked together to get them to purchase the land, clean up the spot, remediate the gas tanks, tear down the old building that was burned, and then give that land to the Urban League with the first $100,000 that was necessary for the capital campaign to then turn it into our Ferguson Community Empowerment Center. That was a total $5 million project that had the highest concentration of African-American businesses to construct that facility in the known history in terms of percentages in St. Louis. And so now what was a tragedy and was something that literally had been burned to the ground turned into a phoenix rising out of the ashes, because to this very day, the Ferguson Community Empowerment Center houses the Save Our Sons program and other workforce programs, and now over 1,500 young African-American men have received jobs so that they can have economic opportunity and the ability to take care of themselves and their families, and that they too can live the American dream that all of us cherish. But 1,500 is not enough. We must continue. We must work to make sure that our words match our deeds, and that we also get out there and that we also do everything we can for those that we have not touched yet as an organization and also as individuals. But when you look up and down West Florissant, literally right around the corner from here, there are still vacant, abandoned, derelict lots that at one time had businesses that were burned down into the ground during the Ferguson crisis. And 5 years after that happened, we at the Urban League looked back and we said, we cannot wait anymore. And so we raised money from Emerson and from others to purchase 3 more of those lots and turn them into joy and happiness and construction and visibility and hope in the community. There was a community-driven plan to talk about what does the neighborhood people want? What do they want to see happen in their community? One thing they said they wanted was a senior citizen building. And so I'm very proud to announce to you that today we actually did the closing on that senior building, which is a $10 million facility so that our seniors will be able to live in the city of Ferguson and Delwood and enjoy the type of quality life that they should have at that stage in their lives. And then across the street from there, we are building a plaza that will have a sit-down, full-service restaurant, a banquet center, an incubation hub for African-American businesses, a full-service bank, and space for people to come and meet and host events. And when you add all three of those projects together that I just mentioned, you now have almost a $25 million infusion between the work that is being done in the actual center itself and then the construction cost. Because we have to take responsibility for our community and want to build it up and support it so that it can be the best version that we want it to be, so that we don't always have to go outside of our neighborhoods for jobs, economic opportunity, and things that we wish to buy and see in our neighborhoods. So when you think about Dr. King, and you think about the fact that he died when he was 39, and you think about that every single year, we all have to reflect and say, where are we? You know, a man dies when he refuses to stand up for that which is right. A man dies when he refuses to stand up for justice. A man dies when he refuses to take a stand for that which is true, is one of Dr. King's most famous quotes. Dr. King proclaimed that the richest country in the history of the world was failing to meet even the most basic needs of its people, which was the impetus for the Poor People's Campaign Dr. King was organizing at the time of his death. The Poor People's Campaign itself was considered radical. Imagine legions of poor, disenfranchised people descending on the nation's capital to demand that Congress mandate equal access to housing, employment, and health care for those historically denied those rights. That was radical at that time. The scene stands in stark contrast to January 6, 2021. Which saw a violent and extremist attack, not on just injustice and humanity toward people, but democracy itself. And as we reflect on Dr. King's legacy in 2022, we do so with heightened anxiety about the status of the freedoms won by the so-called agitators like Dr. King. And while there are so many that labor with us in our fight for justice, some remain silent, preferring not to see, or even worse, soft-selling the repugnancy of what they do see. James Baldwin cautioned, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." And so today, as we celebrate Dr. King, I challenge you to be clear about what we faced. Understand the assignment, and then embrace the most powerful element to justice, service. Find something that you are passionate about and commit yourself to that issue. Give your time, your talent, your treasure to advance the causes you believe in. So when you think about some of Dr. King's quotes, he is obviously, in my opinion, one of, if not the most quoted leaders in the history of not only this country, but the world. And he said, if you want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful. If you want to be great, wonderful. But recognize that he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. That's a new definition of greatness. By giving that definition of greatness, it means that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics and physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love, and you can be that servant. So in order to serve, let me challenge you with 5 things. Join an organization that aligns with your values and make a difference in the community this month. Number 1, join an organization that aligns with your values so that you can make that difference this month. Support a Black-owned business that you never heard of before and spread the word to others to do the same. If you are financially able to do so, donate to a charitable cause that aligns with your values and those of Dr. King, whatever the amount. Vote, number 4, in every single election. And it is no longer enough, quite frankly, for those of us who care about these issues to just go vote ourselves in every election. We need to vote as if our name was on the ballot and get every single person in our family, our friends, our network, our churches, every single person that we know to go vote for justice and make sure that their voices are heard. And then number 5, stay the course. Don't be a one-hit wonder. You don't want to just jump in, make a difference for 6 months and disappear. Do like Dr. Rance. Be there for decades, giving back. Make this a lifelong commitment to give back, help others, make a difference, and live a life like Dr. King would have wanted. And in doing so, ask yourself, what will my legacy be? What difference will my life have made in this world for others? What impact did I have on humanity? Because when I was actually going to school as a much younger man and getting that degree in African American studies and going to St. Louis University, and many of you that know me know this story, every single day we used to hear the priests say to us that you cannot choose when you die, and you certainly could not have chosen when you were born. And the only thing that represents your life on your tombstone is a dash in the middle. And so the question that we all have to ask ourselves is, what do you want that dash to mean? What do you want your legacy to be? And what do you want people to remember that you did that made this world a better place? And I would say, as a Christian, that we should all do our humanly best to give back, make a difference, and live the type of life that Jesus would want us to do, to help those most in need when they need it the most, and be that light and be that example that makes people believe there is still good in the world. Thank you, and God bless you.
Though we know some of you are joining from home, we are sure that you are applauding Mr. McMillan and all of us here tonight. Thank you so much, Mr. McMillan, for your inspiring words, your dedication to the community, and all the ways you help to support St. Louis Community College. Before we end this evening's celebration, we have some other people to thank tonight. First, I would like to thank Amy Brown Marshall, the chair of our celebration committee. This is Ms. Brown Marshall's last year. Oh, yeah, go ahead. This is Ms. Brown Marshall's last year to serve as the chair, and her leadership has allowed our program to reach new heights. Thank you for all of your work leading this committee and how much you care and love you pour into the Florissant Valley campus. Thank you. I would also like to thank our other celebration committee members: Aaron Linder, Mike Matrulis, Dwayne Morgan, Dr. Elizabeth Perkins, Lynn Selders, Shantana Stewart, Dr. Rance Thomas, Shonda Walker, and Bryant T. Williamson. Thank you also to our college marketing communications staff for all of their incredible work and support in promoting this event. To conclude tonight's event, I would like to invite you to join us to celebrate both Black History Month and Women's History Month with STLCC. All at our college, from our students to our faculty and staff to our board of trustees, are committed to continuing to address systemic racism and prioritizing equity, diversity, and inclusion. We also hope you will join us for our theater and music performances, art gallery shows, and all of the wonderful events that our campus offers, all free to the public. For a full list of our events, please visit stlcc.edu. Thank you all for joining us, and good night.